What is going on, guys, and welcome back. And for today's video, we're actually be installing an Android radio in Pro Panda's car. So it's actually a 2800 cord. If you guys haven't seen my last video where I installed this in my car, 2400 cord, I'll link it down below. But for today's video, we're actually be doing that for him. Huge shout out to Ezonetronic once again, because they actually sent us this so we can put it on this car. Super excited to try it out, and I actually like mine a lot, and they were nice enough to send Pro Panda one. So as you can see, I got Pro Panda's car behind me. Installation should be straightforward, should be pretty simple. I'll give you guys a little step-by-step on how to get this done. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and let's get started. Alrighty guys, so this is a radio we're going to be putting in this car today. It's a 10.1 inch Android radio. We are going to have to do some relocation because this radio is actually going to be replacing the current location of his old radio, but we're actually not going to be removing this radio entirely like we did with mine. This is actually going to be relocated down here. So with Pro Panda's car, there's only one issue it looks like I'm going to have, and that's he actually has airbags. So he's going to have to relocate. Well, I'm going to have to relocate this today, but he might have to figure out where to relocate this later on, because since that radio is going to go up there, this original radio actually goes down here now, which is why they provide you with the actual kit for it. So as you can see, you're going to be using these to replace relocate the old radio. And then we have all the wiring harnesses included. So this installation should be pretty straightforward. Besides having to relocate the air management and then having to move the old display to the bottom, everything should be pretty straightforward. We do have to remove a couple panels, so you guys should be pretty comfortable removing panels at this point if you've been following me, because as you guys know, I basically removed every panel in my car, and this should be no different. But other than that, like I said, just take your time on it. You don't want to mess anything up just because you have to redo all your work before. So take your time and then just follow kind of the step-by-steps that I give you today. So the first thing we're actually going to be doing is removing the center console. The center console actually just pops out. It's held in by pressure clips. The way it comes out is it just pops up from back here, so you kind of stick a pry or something to pry up. This pops out, and then we're going to be moving that center console, and then we should be able to remove the radio itself, and then finally the display. So let's get started. I'll set up a time lapse so you guys can see what I'm doing. Like I said, this should be pretty straightforward. Alrighty guys, so as you can take a look, I removed all the trim pieces. So I took off the centerpiece, the middle console, the radio. I'm about to pull off that piece right now. And then I did have to remove those trim pieces on the side to expose these two screws on each side. So there are a total of like 8 screws I took off. So if you guys can see, I have about 8 there. So 2 of them on each side, 2 on the bottom, and then 2 in the middle that go facing up. And then that whole center piece comes out. So pretty simple to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull this part off right now, and then we can test fit the new radio. So as you can see, I pulled this center piece out. So we're going to go ahead and disassemble this because we're actually going to be taking the bracket off and just exposing the screen itself. And then, oh my God. Guys, check this out real quick though. So I had to air out Pro Panda's car. Look at this thing. This thing's on the ground right now, just sitting there. It's insane. Sorry, Pro Panda. Anyways, as you can see, we have all our wiring harnesses right here. I got to figure out real quick where each one of these goes, so I'm going to figure that out in a second. But like I said, we're going to go ahead and remove this panel or this screen off of this bracket, and then we're going to transfer the screen over to the back of this. And then we're going to close it off with this right here. This is the back end of it. So let me go ahead and disassemble this, figure out where these wirings go, and then we can go ahead and put the screen on. So as you guys can see, I got this on, so the screen is now in there. Covered it up using the screws that I pulled out from the other one. So we're gonna leave that for now. I'm gonna go ahead and try to fit this radio in, test fit it just to make sure it fits. All these wiring harnesses essentially are plug and play. So the cool thing about these is you can kind of almost guess where they go, because if you take a look at this wire, obviously none of these other wires are big enough besides this one down here. So this one goes plugged into here. You replug this part back into the old radio, which is that one right there, and then it has a new plug for your new radio. So this is a pretty much plug and play. I'm gonna go ahead and replug everything, kind of show you guys where I plugged everything else, and then we'll give it a test shot, make sure everything works, and then we'll put everything back together. Alright guys, so as you can see, I plugged everything in. I'm going to kind of explain where I plugged everything in. So obviously you have your main wire. This one is basically the one that gives the radio power, and basically the way it's just set up is this part goes back into where this part right here, and then as you can see, it also splits it into another one, and this one right here goes plugged back into the original radio. So it kind of splits the power between both of them. And then you also have this one right here. So this one right here actually goes plugged into that top part, but I'm actually in a little bit of a dilemma right now, because if you guys take a look, there's only one spot for that big connection right there, and I have two wires that have the same connection, but there's only one port. So what I'm thinking they did is this wire is an extra one if you have like an aftermarket amp for your speakers, subwoofers. If you also looks for, I believe this is a microphone. So this one you would use if you had all those wirings to run RCAs, but his car doesn't. So the way it's set up is, I believe if you don't have any aftermarket RCAs to plug in, you're gonna go ahead and plug this one in. And then this one, as you can see, there's an open port right here. Once again, goes plugged in back to one of these. And then the other one, on the other side, this one, goes plugged in back into the original radio. So same concept. And then we also have the last one, which is the one for your backup camera. So as you can see here, there's one more port on the bottom, goes slide in. And that's all the ports on the radio itself. You also have your GPS receiver. So that just goes screwed into that top part right there. And then we need to plug in his antenna adapter down here. And then last but not least, we have the bottom radio. So this one, you just gotta replug in that wire into that. And then this one goes plugged in back to that one up there. So as you guys can see, I got the radio in, put the old radio back, and then got the radio on the bottom cubby now. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on before I screw everything back on. Just because, like I said, since I had to disconnect his air management, I'm hoping that I didn't affect any of the hoses because I plugged them back in how they should. So the car should air back up once it refills with air. But the most important part is that this radio will turn on. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. Oops. Alright, so we got radio power on the bottom. We got this radio turn on, so that's a very good sign. So now let's just hope that the sound works, because that's going to be the next biggest thing. And on top of that, yeah, it looks like it should just be the sound. So as you guys can see, this is what it looks like powering on Android 10. You can see right there. Let's go ahead and wait for the loading screen. Cool. So we got the loading screen. Let me see if I can get some music to go. Alrighty guys, so I had to actually take the radio apart one more time and kind of remake sure all my wires were connected. So as you guys can take a look, everything was pulled out again. The reason why actually there wasn't playing any music the first time, I guess, is because he actually had something connected to his auxiliary cable. So turns out for this vehicle, unlike mine, you have to have your car's original radio on auxiliary, and then it'll play music from the new radio, which is kind of weird if you think about it, because if you have something connected to the auxiliary down there, then the car will register it as playing music from whatever's connected there versus playing music from the actual radio itself. I don't know if that kind of makes sense to you guys, but that's, I guess, how I eventually figured it out. Don't ask me how I figured that part out, because I literally spent like the past half hour trying to figure out why I wasn't playing any music from the radio. And turns out it was because there was a wire connected to the auxiliary on the actual car itself. But I got everything back together. I got everything working. So I'm going to go ahead and put all this radios back together, and I'll show you guys the final results. Alrighty guys, so as you can see, we got the radio back in. So everything is back on, all the panels, all the trim pieces. So as you guys can see, the radio is up here now. It's not going to go anywhere. It's kind of clipped in. And then we have the old radio that's now down here. So as you can see, this is from here on out. You're going to have your old radio still down there. I guess I kind of figured out also why you need to have it in auxiliary mode. Turns out that since we didn't have to do rewiring for the stock radio to the new radio, you're still able to maintain all your buttons on your steering wheel, and then you're still able to maintain a lot of the functionality of the old radio. But I guess that's the reason why they have you selected as auxiliary, and your new radio, which is the Samsung or the Android one, is going to register it, and it'll play music as long as it stays on auxiliary. If you move it to something else, obviously you won't hear any music. Or if you have something plugged into the auxiliary jack, it won't hear any music as well. The wiring for it was actually really, really simple to do. Everything is literally plug and play. There is no rewiring. So unlike mine where I had to do some rewiring, this car was literally just straight plug and play. So I highly recommend this unit, especially if you want to upgrade your car or looking for something, because it's almost the same price as if you were to replace it with like a third-party radio as well, except now you have Android you have an Android system running on there. Everything works, and it looks super dope overall. So super excited to show Pro Panda how it looks like. Let's actually go get his reaction right now.
Hello?
Hey, come outside. I'm here.
You're outside?
Yeah.
Alright, I'll be out.
Dude, no way.
Oh snap! This Pearl Panda. Dude, look at it. What do you think?
That thing's insane.
You like it?
Dude, that thing's sick. Dude,
I know.
What the hell?
Looks badass, huh?
My car looks like a 2020 now.
Why buy a new car? Well, actually, I guess you did buy a new car.
Junior?
This
Dude, this is awesome.
You like it?
Dude.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So with this radio right here, you do have to leave it in aux though.
Okay.
So just make sure it always says aux. And then you have Bluetooth. You have, this is the easy connection. So this one you can actually mirror your phone.
Oh, wow.
And then if you connect it to your phone's hotspot, you can actually access stuff like YouTube and like Waze while you're driving. So it'll give you like maps as you're driving too.
Oh my gosh.
It's pretty cool.
Dude, that thing's insane.
Yeah, it looks sick, huh?
This thing's huge. This thing's bigger than my Tacoma screen.
It's a 10.1.
Dude, that thing's nice. It looks like an Audi almost.
Yeah, it looks badass. Yeah, pretty cool though. So you have everything from Bluetooth, you have radio, maps, you can access stuff like Wi-Fi, and then all your exterior controls still works. So all that still works. And then yeah, you can change the screensaver. You can play around with it a little bit later once you get more comfortable with it. But I think it looks really cool now because it kind of gives you like a modern car feel.
It literally feels like updated now. iOS 10.
iOS 10. I think we're on 14 now.
That's true, huh? What the hell? This thing's crazy, man. Thank you, Ease-on-tronics.